Your Achilles heel. Discover and overcome the hidden cause of negative emotions, bad decisions, and self sabotage. This is by Mike Bundrent. You cannot make conscious choices about that which lies outside of your conscious awareness. Hello, we've been together for a long time now, although you wish I was dead. Even so, I am very much alive. Because of me, your world feels hopeless, helpless, and inescapable. No matter what you do, it would seem you're stuck with me. Inner negativity and emotional turmoil is the fruit of my hidden labor. Self sabotage is the inevitable result. I think it's time you understand how I work. I'm known as an attachment, like a sharp toothed blood sucking lamprey eel. I hang on to you for my dear life while wreaking havoc in yours. Your negative, frustrated, hurt, anxious, angry, hopeless, and out of control feelings feed me. In fact, such despair is highly nutritious for my type. So I insist that you keep these awful feelings alive and well, even if they interfere with your plans. This is how I remain alive and well. You didn't consciously choose me. The hidden aspect of your psyche that feeds on negativity and emotional pain, I simply swam alongside and latched on at a time when you were utterly defenseless. You didn't even notice I was there. It just happened because conditions were ripe. And believe it or not, you were in need of what I had to offer. Today, you loathe me because I demand to be fed. I hunger for negativity and emotional angst, and my appetite is voracious. My appetite is your appetite. Do any of the following sound familiar? Criticism, pessimism, humiliation, rejection, control, discouragement, loneliness, frustration, anger, guilt, shame, failure, fear, chronic stress, emptiness, self sabotage. You can thank me for all of those. Amazingly, most people know nothing about me. Still, they hope I will suddenly let go and set them free from their chronic negativity and self sabotage. This is magical thinking. It won't happen. In fact, over time, I only become stronger and limit your options further. Though it's against my nature, I'm here to teach you how to force me to let go. It's scary to say goodbye to what you've been dragging around for such a long time. I know. Even if I'm not in your best interest, I'm still what you're used to. In fact, you might even say, I'm part of you. You may not even know who you are without me. Yet, as much as I hate saying it, you'd be much better off if I wasn't around. Letting me go will change your entire perspective and give you the freedom to finally live as you've been longing to live. It's the only way. When you learn to release me, you'll enter a new world of emotional maturity and grace where negativity is optional and you choose how to feel. I'm not saying you won't experience disappointment or even tragedy. Regardless, life isn't easy, but you'll be better able to manage the rough currents that are a normal part of living. Let me explain. To move beyond chronic inner negativity and emotions that you cannot control, you first need to learn how and why you've continued to allow me to hang on. Chronic negativity falls into three categories: the feeling of being controlled, the feeling of being deprived, the feeling of being rejected. You may relate to some or all of these. Feeling controlled involves the experience of being at the mercy of outside forces, being helpless, feeling worried about things you cannot control, and so forth. It may also inspire retaliation, such as anger and rebellion. Feeling deprived involves experiencing unmet needs, feeling empty and unsatisfied. It may involve feeling hopeless, purposeless, or depressed, as if you'll never get what you want. Feeling rejected involves experiencing humiliation or worthlessness, feeling unwanted, or that you are a fake or an outcast. You may feel like you never fit in or that others constantly judge you. Negative feelings begin at an early age. The unfortunate truth is, it didn't take much to launch this cascade of negativity into your life. It probably began before you can remember, possibly before you were even conscious of yourself. Here are some examples of how easy it is to create pain and angst early in life. For a baby to feel controlled, all you need to do is keep him or her from going wherever he or she wants. For a baby to feel deprived, all you need to do is delay feeding it for a few seconds. For a baby to feel rejected, all you need to do is look the other way. So, why is this? Babies and young children have little sense of time and no realization that others are separate people with their own needs and limitations. In other words, they want what they want immediately with no filters and no means of delaying gratification. They even desire what may harm them with no reasoning that suggests they should not have it. Babies and young children are set up from the get go. They are set up to feel repeatedly controlled, deprived, and rejected, even by the best of parents. Thoughtless parents make matters much worse. And there are so many thoughtless parents. This is just the way it is for babies and young children. There is no escape for these young innocents, none whatsoever. This is where I came in. I saved you. The salvation I offered, however, came at an immense price. You were never consulted. You just complied and unwittingly agreed to pay the toll. You're still paying it today. Isn't that amazing? See, here's what I did to save you. I attached myself to you and made the control, deprivation, and rejection palatable. In other words, I gave you an appetite for emotional pain and negativity. Now, that sounds crazy too, but it was the only way for you to cope. I actually think it was a brilliant solution. You needed a way to assimilate the constant barrage of negative messages that came your way. Well, that's what I do. I eat negativity for lunch. I am always hungry. I can't get enough. And remember, my appetite is your appetite. Are you still with me? Now, here are a few questions for you to consider. Have you ever wondered why people choose to do things that cause them unhappiness? Have you ever tried to give up behaviors that cause you guilt, shame, and personal angst, only to return to those very behaviors again and again? Have you ever given up on an achievable, positive goal? Do you tend to invite controlling, rejecting, or emotionally unavailable people into your life? Do you often feel at the mercy of others? Do you sometimes make decisions that you know are going to cause trouble, but make them anyway? Is it difficult for you to care deeply for others? Or do you care so much that you sacrifice yourself and end up resentful? Are you unable to feel passionate about life, about anything? Do you struggle with personal discipline? Does your life feel like it is moving on autopilot with no one able to take charge? Have you wondered why you can't just be happy and content? It's because you're still feeding an old attachment that formed before your conscious mind was able to choose for itself. The universal law of pleasure and pain. People move toward pleasure and away from pain. What happens though when pain is cloaked in pleasure? What if you have a strange appetite for trouble? See, here's what happens. You keep on seeking out and successfully finding that old familiar angst, wittingly or unwittingly. But you say, I don't find my pain to be pleasurable. I despise negativity. Fair enough. Yet, why do you continually criticize yourself, focusing on every conceivable negative aspect of life? Why do you do things that you know you shouldn't do? Why do you avoid doing things you know you should do? A universal conundrum. How can someone say they hate pain and discomfort and at the same time make choices that guarantee these negative states? Why does the miserable addict return to his drug? Why do committed couples pick fights with each other? Why does an unhappy and obese person overeat in full awareness of the consequences? Why do people ignore all the red flags when making ill-fated decisions about time, money, relationships, employment, health, business, and parenting? In short, why do people stare the negative consequences of their actions in the face, yet proceed down the dark path anyway? Why don't they simply choose to take a different path? Are you beginning to accept the idea that there is an underlying reason for all of this? Let's move on. The bottom line is, I'm an ugly truth. And for this reason, you've always tried to avoid me. When you've had to confront me, you've attempted to annihilate me. When you've sought help from others, you've wanted them to annihilate me for you. It doesn't work, does it? I won't simply be pulled out and discarded. I'm stronger than you, regardless. You see, I'm a survivor and I can outmaneuver the best of them. How else could I manage to drive you, a rational human being, to do things that just don't make sense? Once hooked with psychological attachments, people victimize themselves by doing the most contradictory things. Someone miserably overweight consumes a diet high in sugar and fat. A tortured woman stays with a man who mistreats her. A would be lover smothers a companion until rejected. A lonely person avoids socializing and laments a solitary life. A parent complains about a spoiled child but continues to spoil them. A smoker with emphysema carts around an oxygen tank while perching a cigarette between his lips. A brilliant artist harshly criticizes her work in spite of being widely celebrated. Someone with a low self esteem drudges on with daily self condemnation. An aspiring business manager underperforms even when it compromises his chances for success. Someone who feels momentarily happy is convinced that bad news is just around the corner and thus abandons their happy state. A nervous speech giver avoids preparing the speech. A person with great potential fears success even though there is nothing to be afraid of. A wrongdoer feels horribly guilty but persists in the wrongdoing. See, in each scenario, the victim actively fears and resists solutions, justifying or making excuses that embrace the self condemning behavior. In other words, they refuse to give up what makes them miserable. This craziness doesn't make sense until they and you intimately understand how I work. Remember, I'm the parasite, the attachment that hooked onto you years ago, eventually distorting your concepts and robbing you of a healthy mental life. I've succeeded in giving you an appetite for negativity and failure. Long ago, I helped you cope, providing a way to digest the daily onslaught of negativity you perceived as a baby or young child. Now, as a result, you subconsciously hunger for negativity while avoiding happiness and self respect. You've not released me because you've denied that I exist. Or perhaps you have feared what life would be like without me. See, I've always been with you and will remain so until the day you die. That is, unless you expand your awareness and realize that I am here and I'm not going away, unless you begin to do something different to what you've always done. If you think that this is bad news, here is something worse. I will set you up for failure. Has it dawned on you that I lure you into behaviors and situations that lead directly to your personal pain? Remember, your pain is my gain. In the moment, you may be convinced that you are making the right choice or the only choice you have. Or you may know that you're making a bad decision, but justify it by blaming someone else or outside circumstances, making yourself helpless, the victim, as always. It all leads to the same result, the feeding of me, your attachment. And when I'm well fed, I grow stronger and you grow weaker. Even so, you are likely to resist having a greater choice. You may not trust yourself with greater personal power. You may not want the responsibility that comes with freedom. You may become confused, distracted, angry, or fearful. You may feel selfish, guilty, or ashamed. You may feel unworthy of anything better than what you have now. All of the above is your resistance to my release. This resistance keeps us connected while you continue to sacrifice yourself with your misconceptions of safety and comfort. Your desire to cling to what's familiar is your undoing. Don't give up, though. You can be free. What's the secret? The secret is to starve me. Quit feeding me, even though I will be fighting for my life at first. When you deny me what I want to survive for long enough, I'll eventually get the message, detach, and search for happier hunting grounds. How do you stop feeding a monster with a never ending appetite for destruction? The process is this. Number one, become aware. Number two, halt what you are doing. Number three, act on new information. Remember this simple acronym, AHA. The following scenario will help to explain it. Let's say you're faced with a choice to purchase a sensible, affordable car or a fancier one that's well beyond your budget. As your attachment, I'll do my very best to tempt you into making a poor choice so that you ultimately feel bad. It's what I do. You're enchanted by the sleek body, luxury leather, powerful engine, and pride of ownership that comes with a high price vehicle. I'll tell you that you'll be making more money soon and that this purchase will motivate you to succeed even more. In fact, you may even feel like a loser if you don't get this car. That's how far removed from reality you're likely to become under my influence. Better judgment would tell you that you can't afford it. You know it's a poor choice, but better judgment isn't at work here. I am. You purchased the fancy car. Soon enough, however, you realize you've taken on more than you can handle financially. You can blame the high pressure salesperson or even a materialistic culture for your feelings of guilt, shame, frustration, and helplessness. You can even blame yourself for making such an irrational decision. You may even look back on a string of bad decisions and chastise yourself for never getting your life together, for being a loser in every area. This is familiar emotional territory. It's what you know. You may even find a perverse satisfaction or self justification here. In fact, all this self condemnation might appear downright attractive. It is to me. As your attachment, I call it subconscious pleasure in negative outcomes. This is my daily diet. You've come to call it home. Now, let's take your negative car buying experience and turn it into a positive aha solution. A equals aware. When you understand me, then you understand that my goal is to put you into negative situations that feed me. Armed with this level of insight, you'll approach the car buying from a completely different position of power. From the get go, you'll be looking for how I might set you up to feel bad about yourself and the world. Car purchases can serve that purpose as well as anything else. Now you're ready to deny me my next meal. So there you are, evaluating the car that fits your budget versus the fancier car that you'd really rather have. Then I hit you with a surge of temptation to close your eyes, sign on the dotted line, and drive away in your new fancy mobile. I pour on the rhetoric. You deserve this car. You've put this off long enough. You'll figure out how to pay for it. So and so has a nice car, but this one puts his to shame. You can't just walk away from this nice salesperson that has spent so much time with you. You may stress about this later, but you really want it now, don't you? And so on. And then, aha, there it is. You suddenly see what's happening. I am ready to make my next meal out of you. And there won't be much room left for the positive feelings you might have had if you had made a better choice. You see, I plan ahead in ways that you have never imagined. This is how I've been outsmarting you for many, many years. I know how to blind you to the truth and make you ignore all the red flags that would awaken your better judgment in life. I do this with your money, your time, relationships, hobbies, parenting, health, career, and well, everything. I'm insidious. However, your awareness of me and my purpose could very well be the death of me. If you've gotten this far with an open mind, you are ahead of most people. So, congratulations. Now, on to the next step. H equals halt. Once you are aware, it is imperative that you halt. Stop. Take a moment to consider what's really going on. Where are you headed? It's inevitable that I'll try to persuade you to keep going on autopilot like a zombie in front of a slot machine. The machine is gobbling up your credits at breakneck speed, yet you keep mindlessly pushing the buttons, dazzled by the flashing lights and cutesy music. You've lost $100 so far with only $50 left in your reserve. Might as well go for broke. Then, when the machine has eaten your last penny, you can finally relax and retreat with, hey, it happens every time, look on your face. Yes, I'll be trying to keep you on autopilot, away from any conscious reflection. If you do not halt the process, it will rage on forever, dwindling your emotional credits with every pull of the handle. So let's look at where you are so far in the car buying process. You're still faced with a choice, fancy and unaffordable, or less fancy yet affordable. You've caught me red-handed, trying to lead you into a decision that will taint the pleasure of the fancy car with a healthy dose of pain, shame, self-criticism, feeling of failure, and low self-esteem. Time to get off autopilot. So you stop yourself in your tracks and you shake off the illusion that any car really means all that much. You begin to consciously evaluate the decision in terms of self sabotage. Is buying the fancy car self sabotage? Will it allow you to really feel good, proud of yourself, and full of self respect? Or will owning this car and all that goes with it just reinforce old, unhealthy ideas that you've been carrying around so long? In this moment, you are truly alive as an adult. You put yourself in a rare position of conscious choice. A equals act. When you're aware of your chronic subconscious tendencies and halt to reflect on what you are doing from moment to moment, you can integrate those tendencies into your conscious decision making. For most people, the conscious desire is to be happy, good health, financial stability, caring relationships, fun hobbies, and balanced living tend to lead to happiness. Of course, none of the above are at all appealing to me. I prefer a darker, more chaotic, and drama filled existence. Balance and happiness are boring to me. You and I have been competing for a long time now, and you have won some battles along the way. I accept that. If you couldn't win some of the time, I'd lose my feeding ground because you'd give up on life. Do you want to win more battles and perhaps even end the war between us? Do you really want me to surrender and swim away? The opportunity is here right now. You've got to act on new information. Here is where you now stand. You understand your tendency toward self sabotage. You've caught me in the act of setting you up to feel miserable. Now you're on your own. You have a choice to make. Given that you know what I'm about to do, you have no excuses and no right to complain if you end up feeding me yet another meal. Again, I'm not about to make it easy for you. Mostly, I'll cause you to fear change. I'll make happiness and self respect scary and unfamiliar. I'll make you feel disloyal to all those who taught you to hate yourself. I'll convince you not to care. Of course, none of this is true, but it will feel true. And it may just entice you to stick with what you know, pain. At any rate, your new choice now looks very different in light of your new awareness. Option one, buy a less fancy car that you can afford that won't stress you out, cause you to condemn yourself, or feel out of control in your life. Most of all, it won't be a self betraying decision. Option two, buy a fancy car that will do all those wonderful negative things. At this point, if you do buy this fancy car, you know it is an act of self sabotage. You'll live to regret it. Option three and beyond. Yes, now that you are thinking clearly, who knows what other choices will appear to you? You may decide not to buy a new car right now. You may commit to saving up for the car you want. You may even wonder why you wanted to look for a new car in the first place. This is your chance to get out of your own way. This is your moment to act with self awareness and self respect. It's not about the car. I don't care about cars. I just want you to feel bad so that I can feed on you some more. If you were in a position to purchase and enjoy the car of your dreams, then I might try to prevent you from getting the fancy car you want and can easily afford and stick you with a car you hate. I'll tell you that you don't deserve a luxury car. Who do you think you are, anyways? Stop being so self centered. By the way, if you get that nice car, people will hate you for being more successful than they are, and so on. It's not about the car. My sole goal is that you end up feeling deprived, rejected, out of control, humiliated, and less than. I'm everywhere you are, constantly strategizing about how to pull off negative outcomes. Stop feeding me if you want to live. Are you ready to act? The truth is, you won't always become aware of what you're doing in time to halt and act on new information. When you're caught up in a raging river of self sabotage, you don't always see the branches and boulders to grab onto. This is okay. If you criticize yourself for your lack of awareness, you're only feeding me more. But as soon as you do notice, even in hindsight, you can still review the scenario, break it down, and learn from it. Be grateful for this. Be proud of yourself for this new ability. Soon, you'll get ahead of your tendency for self sabotage and learn to see it coming. Then you'll be ready to let me go and swim confidently. Your new consciousness will know that you have a choice in relation to old habits. Only then will you be free of me, your attachment, once and for all. This falls into the realm of a quality of life decision, although it may also be a matter of life and death. Now that you are aware, you can halt what you are doing and act differently. Now, what? Remember, you have the potential to repel pain rather than attract it. Negativity does not need to be magnetic. Drama does not need to be exciting. Failure does not need to feel inevitable. There are no negative side effects to giving up a hidden desire for personal suffering. Imagine no more trading off what you want to settle for what's more familiar. No more going against your better judgment only to find regret. No more behaviors that you cannot control. No more critical voice in your head. No more reckless decisions. No more low self esteem. No more chronic worry, irrational fear, jealousy, or resentment. No more abandoning goals for no apparent reason. No more feeling rejected and socially anxious. No more feeling empty and purposeless. No more inner conflict, indecision, and emotional paralysis. No more self sabotage. In short, no more of those old, worthless behaviors and feelings that have defined you. You may not feel that you have a choice about some of the above. Still, you do have a choice to make, and that is this: to do the work of releasing what I'm up to. Yes, me, your attachment. You have to consciously realize what you are doing that makes your life a prison. Do this work for however long it takes and whatever the consequences. It's really your only choice if you want to be free. Only then will you be able to finally say, aha, my new life has just begun. Afterward, the truth can be uncomfortable. Perhaps it's a mixed blessing that's so easy to avoid. Nowhere is the truth, the reality of what's really going on, more readily lost than in the labyrinth of our own minds. This is why human science researchers can't agree on much of anything. Unfortunately, they're all just guessing. Still, making educated guesses is important. It's our only hope. Throughout history, however, when guesses have come just a bit too close to an uncomfortable truth, they've been systematically resisted before being reluctantly accepted and eventually embraced. Pythagoras, Kepler, Galileo, Pasteur, Einstein, Edison, these are all examples of forward thinkers who were publicly ridiculed and even executed for possessing such radical ideas. Another example of this is Edmund Burglar, MD. You've probably never heard of Burglar, even though he was one of Sigmund Freud's closest colleagues. Burglar was assistant director of Freud's clinic in Vienna and a prominent psychiatrist in New York. He authored 300 studies that were published in medical journals and 23 books. You've probably never heard of Burglar, even though Freud publicly acknowledged that Burglar's work represented the next level of psychoanalytic thinking. Here's why. Burglar's next level of thinking hit a nerve and was systematically shunned by his colleagues, the very people with the greatest potential to understand. Even for them, the truth was uncomfortable and threatened the basis of who they were and what they did. So, like any decent prophet, Dr. Burglar accepted his fate and trudged onward, predicting a span of 100 years before his ideas would be seriously considered. It's been just over 50. What was this nerve that Burglar hit? It's what you just read. No, Burglar didn't discuss lamprey eels, but he was emphatic about our unconscious appetite for negativity. Burglar called it psychic masochism. The fundamental neurosis, according to Burglar, is that human beings learn to take pleasure in displeasure. We sugarcoat negativity so it's easier to swallow, even though it makes us miserable. We develop such a tolerance for emotional pain that we end up unnecessarily keeping it around for a lifetime. Useless, and until we recognize this universal tendency, the problem at the root of most human suffering never goes away. In fact, psychic masochism is a progressive disease. Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for reading this book. I hope this simple concept here makes a difference in your life. My purpose is to highlight rarely discussed truths about how the mind works, even when doing so is difficult. To me, this is the hope of healing that so many of us are seeking. About INLPcenter.org. The INLP Center is a personal development website that offers accredited certification in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. Our NLP training center is grounded in solid personal development principles and promotes a no-hype approach to learning NLP. Our flagship personal development program is called the AHA Solution. The AHA Solution takes the concepts in this book and teaches them in a non-metaphorical way through a series of educational videos with tools provided to implement the AHA approach into your life. The AHA Solution is based on 12 attachment types, 4 attachment types under each of the 3 categories: rejection, control, and deprivation. You can watch the first AHA Solution video for free. It is 20 minutes long and will solidify the concepts in this book by giving clear examples of how the rejection, control, and deprivation attachments develop. If you found your Achilles heel helpful, then the first video of the AHA Solution will add significantly to your understanding. Get out a pen and paper, take notes, see yourself in the examples provided, and take your personal insight to the next level. To watch the video, you'll need to enter your email address in the form provided at the link below. You'll be added to our email newsletter and instantly redirected to the video. Of course, there's no obligation to purchase anything, and you can unsubscribe from our newsletter at any time. We keep all email addresses private and take great care to send you world-class education content, but not more than 3 times in a week. Get the free AHA Solution video here. http://inlpcenter.org/aha-process-self-sabotage. http://inlpcenter.org/aha-process-self-sabotage.